Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Business Today, where we talk about businesses and the business world and its dealings. Today, we are actually going to be featuring a very interesting personnel segment to kick things off. We will be having the market discussions later on with Nisanga. To kick things off, we are actually focusing on a very interesting program, and it's actually a competition, the Best Entrepreneur Competition, hosted by some really interesting personalities who are affiliated with a very interesting Chamber of Commerce as well. So we'll be learning a little bit about them before we talk to them. So let's take a look.
Ruwan Edirisinghe is the president of the Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industry Sri Lanka. He is also the chairman of RN Constructions, which has won over 25 national and international gold and platinum awards for the excellent industry performance. He graduated from the University of Peradeniya following civil engineering and followed postgraduate diploma in construction management from University of Moratuwa. He was awarded the prestigious Platinum Award for the Best Sri Lanka Entrepreneur Award in year 2008, organized by the Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industry Sri Lanka, and the Gold Award for the Best Industrialist in year 2008, awarded by the Ceylon National Chamber of Industry. Mr. Gunawardene is the Managing Director of Chat Holdings Private Limited. Possesses over 2 decades of experience in marketing and management and holds a diploma in marketing management from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, UK. Today, Chat Holdings is a fledgling conglomerate with interests in several key sectors, including construction, furnishing, and real estate industries, and has expanded its reach to several regional markets.
Some very interesting personalities, aren't they? So we have with us Mr. Ruwan Edirisinghe, President, Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Sri Lanka, and Mr. Aelian Gunawardene, President, Managing Director of Chat Holdings Private Limited, with us. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Great to be here, Win.
Yeah, pleasure to have you as well. So to kick things off, FCCISL, what is it?
It is Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Yeah. It's a pinnacle of 63 regional and national level chambers in the country. Yeah. This is a cross, actually Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industry is a cross section of all the chambers in the country, starting from north to south and east to west. And we are giving leadership to 63 chambers in the country, having about 25,000 business entities under us. And we are the only chamber in Sri Lanka representing the other part of the world as an international coordination point for SAARC Chamber of Commerce and Industry and also APTA Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mm-hmm. So, Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industry is carrying out this program for the last 23 years.
All right, so that's very interesting. Now, how did you join the FCCISL? And, you know, what is your affiliation with that group as well?
Yeah, with Chat Holdings, of course, I started the company 25 years ago. Yeah. And with the company growing, we joined different chambers through the years. You know, and some of these chambers are also affiliated to the Federation of the Chamber of Industries and Commerce. Why we actually join these chambers and get affiliated with these women is the fact that, you know, with the way the chamber is run, you know, they bring in a lot of great personalities, international buyers, investors. They bring in some you know, good speakers who can come and talk to us. Plus, it gives us an opportunity together as a industry to raise a voice when we have issues. So the chamber has always been helpful to us, and that's one of the reasons that we joined them.
So you talked about your business as well, Chat Holdings.
Yes.
Can you describe a little bit about your business and what you do?
Yeah, so Chat Holdings was started predominantly to do wood coatings, to give the best wood finishes to the furniture industry. We started this 25 years ago because we wanted to give the market better lacquers than what we had. When the Sri Lankan market is using nitrocellulose lacquers, we started with polyurethane 2-packs, and then we started with our water-based lacquers, which have great exterior properties. And from there, we went on to the whole construction industry, where we wanted to introduce, the best furniture in Herman Miller furniture for office furniture, the best sort of ceilings in the world in the form of Armstrong ceilings. And we have our own brushes and our own paint like Crown, Permaglaze, Brushmaster paint. We just acquired the brand Harris paint brushes and so on. So our ranges of product is vast. We have a vast range of product to the construction industry, and Jet Holdings also has diversified into real estate development. We have diversified into technology, and so we've got a lot of diversification going. Plus we've gone to different markets in Asia. We're in Bangladesh, in Maldives, in India, and Pakistan. So we're quite regional as well now.
So now you won the Best Entrepreneur of the Year in 2017.
Yeah.
Now, what is this competition that he won? You actually won it yourself in 2008.
Yes. Uvin, this competition of Sri Lankan entrepreneur started 23 years back. Because we as chamber leaders, what we are doing is to encourage our Sri Lankan industrialists and entrepreneurs for the betterment of their future, and also giving them exposure from regional level to come up to the national level, then from national level to the international level. So this is the main idea behind this program. And for the last 23 years, we were having this one, and the 23rd competition is due now, and we have already called for applications, and the award ceremony will be in February. So during the last 23 years, we have recognized the very best entrepreneurs, not only one person. Aelian is the last year the best platinum award winner. So we are actually having this competition rewarding 117 awards, national level and the regional level. And what we do is, this competition is a cross-section of all the business entities from micro level up to the extra large category. That means any business entity in the country into industries, services sector, manufacturing, and then agriculture based, trading, all are involving in this competition. And this is a fair judgment that we are giving through a very eminent panel of judges who are top level professionals from the most recognized government and private sector institution.
So how exactly does this competition work? You submit an application?
Yeah, there is application. Now you can download from our website, or you can collect the application from regional chambers or from our headquarters, which is in Colombo. And the application is having different categories of awards, which is not only one competition. There are so many categories like Sri Lankan young entrepreneur, Sri Lankan women entrepreneur, Sri Lankan disabled entrepreneur, and Sri Lankan best entrepreneur. There are so many categories starting from micro level to extra large category, micro, small, medium, large category, extra large category. So it's a big cross section where we always get more than 300 applications every year, and the competition is therefore every year. The evaluation criteria is a long criteria. Actually, for evaluation we need more than 2 months to do evaluation. It's not one-time evaluation. It's a long process. Actually, I will explain in the future.
So, Mr. Edirisinghe, you actually, have been in this competition. So has Mr. Gunawardene. Now, Mr. Gunawardene, what was your experience, going through the competition, applying for the competition? What was your experience?
Yeah,
and what were the benefits afterwards, after you won?
Actually, the application process is an extremely tedious process. It is, the application itself was maybe 4 inches thick. Yeah. You have to have your whole team getting involved in putting that application together, and that itself is an exercise to tell us where we are in the industry, in our business, what sometimes we're doing right and wrong, where there might be certain things that we can be doing better. When we go through an application process like that, that helped us. That was a great teaching for the team internally. Plus, once we went in for the interviews and all that, we realized that the Sri Lankan, some of the universities still don't have a program on a local entrepreneur. and in fact, some of the professors from the Colombo University and the Morato University are now talking to me to see whether we can have one program now on Jet Holdings, on myself, where the Sri Lankan university students who are in business studies can actually study about a local entrepreneur, and that way they can have a touch and feel sort of aspect with a Sri Lankan company and a Sri Lankan entrepreneur, and understand how our minds work and how the companies are run, because what they are now studying is a lot to do with the international personalities, which they might never get a chance to actually meet and talk to. So to that extent, I think it will help our education system. It helped us as a company because we understood some of the shortcomings that we had, but we feel that with the fact that Jet Holdings is run in the most highly corporate governed sort of way, our corporate governance at Jet is extremely high. We have independent directors, we have audit committee, we have a remuneration committee. We paid over ₹1 billion in taxes last year. So much of stringent sort of rules that we follow, and when you do that, this kind of recognition is also nice.
So apart from the recognition, it made you take a step back and look at your corporate governance, which came in handy for you.
Yes,
is that correct?
Yes. I mean, our corporate governance is anyway done because we have an annual report that we put out every year. We've been putting out an annual report even though we are a private company for the last 4 years. So for that, our corporate governance has to be at its top level. Sometimes we like to think that our corporate governance is better than a lot of the public quoted companies. So we have a great team, a great board that runs the company, and a great management team as well. So our governance is really up there with the best.
Now, Mr. Edirisinghe, you also have a lot of experience in the Chamber of Commerce as well as with this competition. You have your own business that actually does very well, if I may say so. So what is your experience about joining a Chamber of Commerce and the benefits that they get?
Actually, why I joined Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industries, I applied for the Entrepreneur Award in 2005. When I applied, I was a medium level company. I was having only about 500 employees and turnover about 600-700 million rupees in 2005. And when I applied for the competition, I understood there's a huge lot to improve in my company. It's a real learning process. If you ask any entrepreneur who applied this, everybody is getting a huge gain out of this, because there is a very good process of analyzing our own business, and also there are a lot of areas that we have we are getting an opportunity to expose the company, to enlarge the company and develop the company. So from 2005 I continuously went in applying in the competition, and within 4 years I became the best entrepreneur, Platinum Award, and that gave me a huge recognition.
Can you talk about a little bit about your business as well, RN Construction?
Yeah, actually we are a group of companies, RN group of companies. The main company, I'm an engineer by profession, so I started this business in 1996 with 500 rupees capital and 3 laborers. That's the bottom line. And I am really a product of re-education system in this country, and started with nothing, and within 9 years I improved my company to the topmost level contractors in the country. We are the fastest grown company in Sri Lankan history. Within 9 years we became the top level and also recognized as the best contractor in the country. And we went in diversification into backward integration, and we have 14 manufacturing units. We have so many manufacturing plants into different type of construction raw materials. Altogether we are a group now having about 3,000 employees, about 250 plus foreign employers, and fairly large enterprise at the moment.
Nice. So, Mr. Gunawardene, you get a chance to meet people like this through the Chamber of Commerce. Is networking one of the benefits of joining the Chamber of Commerce?
Certainly. In fact, the Chamber has helped us with even some of our foreign exposure. When we wanted to expand to Pakistan, some of the introductions that were given by the chamber. Because Ruwan is very close to the chamber guys in Pakistan, and wherever we want to go, if we want to enter, say, Myanmar, the other day his CEO took us to the High Commission here, and then we got the ball rolling. So meeting people at the chamber, the hierarchy at the chamber, and their customers and their connections have been a real plus to us.
So what do you think is the main role of being in a Chamber of Commerce? Is it the collection of the groups? What is it?
I would think it's just that the fact that like you correctly said, the fact that you get to interact with like-minded people, and get to meet a lot of people internationally that you might have not otherwise met, because just the other day the chamber brought down some excellent investors from China and some suppliers from Taiwan, and I believe they're going to Pakistan in a few months, and so on. So being a part of the chamber has always helped us to get more exposure for our products and our markets, and also obviously it helps us to, if there's an issue that we want to raise it as a chamber and not as an individual company. So it gives us a voice which is much more greater than just an individual company.
So there might be entrepreneurs who are watching who want to join the chamber and become affiliated. How do they go about doing that?
Yeah, applications are available in the website. They can collect it, and
what's the website?
or otherwise www.fccisl.lk.
FCCISL.lk.
Okay, yeah. So we can you can collect the application, or you can talk to Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have applications, and also we have distributed applications to all regional chambers in the country. So it is available in all regional chambers, and what they have to do is look at the application and go through the application. The main thing is we are evaluating an entrepreneur. We are not evaluating a manager of an entrepreneur. So this application should go through by the entrepreneur himself, and he should give the answers for the questions and the requirement in the application, so that he put his own innovative ideas, his all business matters into the application. Because otherwise, if a outsider applies for the competition, they can't put it, because entrepreneurs way of answering questions, way of finding solutions for anything is a different thing. So actually the evaluation criteria is very, very serious, where we have the desk review first, and it will be carrying about 50 marks out of 100, and thereafter we select the best out of them, and the panel of judges will visit to the entrepreneur's business entity and do an evaluation there. That will carry another 25 marks, and there will be a final interview, a presentation by the entrepreneur, which will carry the balance marks. So everywhere entrepreneur have to count marks, and mostly the best entrepreneurs who are selecting is having the top level marks, and there is another very important thing that I have to tell. If you go through the previous winners of the Entrepreneur Award, you will see it's a complete cross section of Sri Lanka. It's not only the big businessmen who are coming from only Colombo, because we have a way of evaluation where we put a weightage for the entrepreneurs who are coming out of Colombo, and we give them an equal platform to compete in the top.
So, Mr. Gunawardene, is the process after you completed the application as same as Mr. Edirisinghe mentioned? Yes. What was your experience?
No, absolutely. I mean, just the fact that these the judges would come to office, would go to our factories, would interview us and meet some of the staff. The fact that we have to do a presentation as well to a group of about 4 or 5 professionals. The process is fairly tedious, and it's very transparent. So I mean, I suppose I was one of the very few, if not the only one, you might be able to tell me, the only winner to apply for it for the first year and still win the platinum award. Because like you said, some people win the silver, gold, and then on another year win. But I was very fortunate because I think it was also because we applied at a mature stage in our business, which we 25
you had
years.
streamlined the process, and you learned about the
25 years in the business. So I suppose we were mature enough to win. But one other thing that I would like to see is some of the other top entrepreneurs actually applying and being a part of this process, because it's a great recognition and a great process to follow.
Both of you, do you have any messages to entrepreneurs and business owners that are watching right now about the competition and about the Chamber of Commerce?
I think Entrepreneur Award is a good opportunity for Sri Lankan entrepreneurs because the recognition by the Sri Lankan Entrepreneur Award itself is a very big recognition in our country, and also this is an opportunity for a regional entrepreneur to come up to the national level, and from national level going up to the international level. Most of the Platinum Award winners are already in the world market in a huge business entities, developing their businesses into the other part of the world. So take this opportunity, and it's a real judgment for you to have for real analysis of your business as per the best professional way of analyzing, and the result will give you idea for you how can you develop the business, and where the end of the business, how you can bring it up.
All right. So, Mr. Gunawardene, do you have any last words about the entrepreneur competition?
Yeah, about the competition, I believe, like I said earlier, I'd like to see some real personalities taking part, and to see that the competition goes from strength to strength. I've given my input to the federation as well, and told them how we can maybe improve it, and I'm sure they will follow some of those tips, I suppose, this year. But more than that, to entrepreneurs themselves, what I have to say is that in a market maybe that is going through different stages like Sri Lanka is going today, you just have to persevere, you have to work hard, you got to be diligent, you got to believe in yourself, and trust that your plan and your product will work. That's something that I want to sort of get across to young entrepreneurs.
All right, thank you, Mr. Edirisinghe and Mr. Gunawardene, both of you, for joining us today here on Business Today.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's a pleasure having you. And that was a very informative session. Hope you enjoyed it. Next up, Mr. will be taking you through a very interesting market discussion. So stay tuned in.
Welcome back to Business Today, and as we are on our final segment, our next conversation is going to be on a very, very interesting topic, as the motor vehicle has become quite an essential part of our day-to-day lives. So we are ready to talk about its latest trends and developments today. So we got Travis Gomez joining us from Frontier Research. A very good evening to you, Travis.
Okay, good evening.
Right, so let's first start our conversation by talking about the latest developments in this sector, in the motor vehicle sector.
Yeah, when you look at the motor sector, I think a key thing that we focus on a lot is that it's very subject, the performance of the motor sector in general is very much subject to government policies, because it's very much subject to those regulatory risks. So particularly changes in the excise duties and any policies that the central bank brings in. So the two main sort of the policy indicators that affect the motor sector is the excise duties that come in through the budget, as well as the central bank. They impose these loan to value ratios, which kind of curb to the extent to which people can borrow in order to purchase their vehicles. So what we've been seeing is in the past 2 years, if you take the performance of the motor sector for 2016 and 17, we saw a dip in the total vehicle registrations, and that was very much because of the tight government budgetary policies that was there, where they maintained like high taxes, tariffs on it, as well as the central bank was maintaining this stance that because the motor sector was putting a lot of pressure on the currency. So because of that, they were maintaining a tight stance on that. So actually, the vehicle sales were relatively low. But then, if you take this year, there was a strong pickup. So if you take like the January to August period, there was like 100% growth in the vehicle. So that has also raised some concerns. So that was very much because of some changes that took in.
Growth.
Yeah, there was 100% growth for the first 8 months, and that was because of some changes that were happening in the excise duties, the way the duty was, the duty structure. So that led to a strong growth. But more recently now, again, with as we saw, there's this high depreciation pressure that came in. So because of that, the central bank put in some, and the government put in some emergency measures to try to curb the motor sector growth. So they raised the loan-to-value ratios on some, they tightened the loan-to-value ratios, and they increased some of these letter of credits to try to stem the growth because of the currency pressure that was happening. So that's the current state right now.
Right. So if we concentrate on the motor cars, what are the trends you have observed there?
So there are, I mean, two broad things that we've seen. So one is in terms of, there's been strong growth in the small motor cars. So that is basically the cars that are under 1000 cc. So that was, so if you look at that for this year, for Jan to August, more than almost 90% of the vehicles that were brought in were the small cars. And at the same time, what we also saw was that if you look at the sort of the models that are brought in, and the type of vehicles that are brought in, predominantly it's also, there's a shift in the preference for hybrid vehicles.
Right.
So that again is because of government policy that has brought in for the last couple of years, where they've given, basically this is in line with the government's policy to try to promote more sustainability and to sort of have more, more greener economy.
Right.
So in line with that, what they had done was they gave more favorable excise duty rates and higher LTV ratios for these hybrid vehicles. So because of that, these small hybrid vehicles are like the vehicle of choice that is there at the moment.
Right. So at the same time, we also see a lot of electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles also in the market. So how popular are those vehicles currently in the local market?
So right now, if you look at the policies, it has started to actually make a change in people's preferences there. Actually, because one is because of the attractive rates that are on it. Those vehicles are now relatively cheaper.
And
so when it comes
with
the fuel consumption as well, so it's like a win-win situation for the consumer as well as for the country as a whole. So at what we've seen is that for this year, more than 50% of the vehicles brought in are hybrids, and with the similar trend with the SUV vehicles as well. There's a greater preference for hybrids. So over time, this would have quite a significant benefit in terms of potentially it can reduce the sort of the import, the fuel demand that is there, because right now that is like the biggest expenditure when it comes to our imports is the fuel bill. So potentially in the long run, this could help to reduce that. At the moment, we're not seeing it too much because although there's a strong growth, still the hybrid vehicle population is still small, and at the same time there's also like indirect demand for fuel because you still need to charge the car, and a lot of our electricity is also partly it's from like burning fossil fuels as well. So there is still indirect demand for fuel, but hopefully in the long run this is a positive development. It should ease some of the pressure.
So has this demand for hybrid vehicles resulted in a dip in other segments?
So in terms of, so within motor cars, within motor cars,
because the first preference is now going towards
the first preference is now the hybrids, yes.
Hybrids and,
and
electric vehicles.
Yeah, electric vehicles not too much, because right now the price, I think most of the models, the prices are still a bit too high for it to be affordable, and also we don't really have the infrastructure in place to have like 100% electric vehicles. We don't have the necessary like the charging stations and the sort of the capacity of that. But yeah, we've kind of seen that shift happening.
So how about the demand for motorcycles in Sri Lanka?
So with motorcycles, so if you take like the structure of the motor vehicles market in Sri Lanka, so there's about like 7 million vehicle population. Out of that, 4 million is basically motor cycles. So so almost like 56% of the population of the total vehicle population is motorcycles. And what we've seen is that over time, despite despite all these different policy changes that have been happening, the motorcycle sector has been relatively more resilient. There hasn't been much changes in terms of their market share. What we've seen is that over time, they've also kind of like been increasing their market share. So there has been fairly consistent demand when it comes to motorcycles, because when it comes to most households, that is like the entry level vehicle for most people. When you don't have a car, I mean, that's when you don't have a vehicle, I mean, that's like your first choice, and then later on you might move to like a small car and so on. So right now there is what we've seen is that looking at the latest household income data as well, there's been a growth in the income levels of households. So that may be spurring the growth for motorcycles, because right now the latest data also reveal that if you take out a total households, about 34% of households don't have any vehicles. So, and given the increasing income levels, there's the potential for more people to start owning motorcycles, at least moving into the motorcycles as well. Another trend we're also seeing is as household incomes improve, is that people will shift from to more better branded motorcycles. So right now about I think like close to like 95% of the motorcycles that are here are brought down from India. So what happens is, as household incomes improve, people want to shift to better models. So that is particularly from Japan. So we are kind of seeing that shift also happening gradually.
Right, we spoke about motor cars, motorcycles, and now let's move on to three-wheelers. So what has happened in this particular segment, as there were concerns from the government to reduce the number of three-wheeler drivers?
Yes, so again,
what is the position there?
Yeah, so there are three-wheelers have kind of got a bad name, particularly in the city, where there this view that the population of three-wheelers has increased a lot in the city, plus a lot of youth are going into it. As a result, the government brought in some policies to sort of to put sort of like an age limit on it, or that was one policy they were trying to introduce. The other one was that is in place is they've reduced like the loan to value ratio on that to 25%. So to restrict basically people's ability to get financing to pay for three-wheelers. So what we've seen is, as a result of that policy, there has been a big impact in terms of the three-wheel demand. So if you take in 2012, about a quarter of all the vehicles in Sri Lanka, the total vehicles were three-wheelers. By 2017, that had dropped to 5%. So these policies have had a significant impact in terms of the three-wheel demand has fallen. But having said that, I mean, at the same time, although I mean, the sentiment of the government was that it's causing like congestion in the cities. It's also, if you look at a more broader sense, in a lot of outstation areas where the infrastructure is not that great, the three-wheeler is like an essential part of those economies there. So particularly if there's like an emergency, you need to rush someone to the hospital, the roads are bad, you need like a three-wheeler is kind of like the vehicle of choice in those situations. So you kind of need to balance both when it comes to the policies with regard to three-wheelers.
Right, so there were various regulatory measures taken by the government in order to address various concerns. So can you talk about the regulatory measures taken by the government during the last couple of months?
Yeah, so as I said, this was all spurred because of the currency depreciation that was happening. So that was mainly due to external factors that was happening. But what the government felt, and the central bank as well, is that when it comes to the motor vehicle sector, it places a significant pressure on the exchange rate, because out of all the total imports, about motor vehicles constitute like the second or third largest imports, plus there's also the indirect impact in terms of the fuel imports that are brought in because of that. So because of that, they introduced some measures to curb that. So one was they curbed in terms of the loan to value ratio for the vehicle categories, as well as they increased the letter of credit that was required to what you call to open the LCs in order to bring down the vehicles. So that was the measures that they put in place, but we don't have the data yet to see whether to what extent that was these policies were successful in terms of curbing the vehicle growth.
All right, so with the fuel prices going up, has there been any impact?
Again, we don't, looking at the data, we don't, we haven't seen a visible impact, because while at the same time this is happening, the global oil prices have also been picking up, and it's like trending towards 100. So there's various views on that. But so at the moment, we don't see this shift towards hybrids particularly like causing we are not going to see it immediately in the data that the fuel prices are going to the fuel import bill coming down, but in the long term this is something that can potentially, and alongside other government policies as well, to try to encourage when it comes to our energy generation as well, to shift to more like sustainable energy, to promote like solar power and wind power. Overall, the combination of those could ease some of the pressure in terms of reducing our fuel import bill.
All right, so it was a very interesting conversation, Travis. Thank you for being with us today.
Okay, thanks.
And we got to wind up. Thanks once again.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, with that, we will wrap up for today. We will meet you next week. Till we meet, take care and good night.